Hi, Fee Hills here, and welcome to part 2 of our series of video presentations from the London launch of My Nudger AI. In this video, I'll share an overview of My Nudging AI, as well as the EPIC methodology behind it, and give you an understanding of what a My Nudge actually is. So, as always, let's get started.
So what we have here is, on the side you can see dashboard, the journey itself, resources, sprints, progress, learning tribe. So what we're dealing with here is social learning, live facilitation. So the live facilitation is happening to reframe the thinking and reframe the people as they go through their journey. So don't think of this as a learning program. Think of this as a transformational journey. And therefore, people on a journey, they need a little bit of support through it, and they all need engagement through it. We talked about learner-centered, human-centered methodology, and we put method first. We don't put technology first. In COVID, what happened in learning was that COVID came along, so you were disrupted very, very quickly. And then everybody said, oh, what are we going to do about training or learning? So what we'll do is we'll take what we've got. They had no other choice, by the way, absolutely no other choice. So we take technology and we'll throw technology at the problem, because that's the only thing you could do in that instance, because that was disruption, on steroids, wasn't it? So we did that. We did all we could do in that time. But what happened after a little time doing that? Like Zoom fatigue and things like that. Did anyone have experiences where they experienced that?
Human contact didn't quite work, did it?
No, because the paradigm shift wasn't there as well. So if you think about that, so I just want to use that as an analogy here. We think about that, you can't sling technology at this problem. It has to be first the methodology. And when you hit the methodology, you can then sling technology at the problem. If that makes sense. The methodology is something called EPIC, which stands for Experiential, Playful, Iterative, Collaborative. Playful is always experiential is not always playful, and playful is not always appropriate. So we twist between experiential and playful. Iterative, which is obviously iterating that agile change, and collaborative. We also need to scale through the AI. So the methodology is the concept pyramid, which Mike is going to share with you, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, and also I couldn't do it justice, but also the EPIC methodology, which I am going to share with you, because this forms the basis of everything that creates the paradigm shift, those two together. You can essentially go in an organization, you can design your own either organizational mindset or culture or both, which one leads to the other, and then you can effectively get the concept pyramid that mirrors that and then individualizes the journey for each person in the company to reach the same goal. I'm going to allow Mike to make more sense of that. Okay, so that's the concept pyramid. Now, for experiential learning, which we've been doing since 2012, it is proven to accelerate mindset change, so we're solid on this. Now, as I said, it's experiential, playful, collaborative, and iterative, and it helps people through that journey of ignite, embed, grow, and sustain. So we need to ignite people through the transformation, then we need to embed the learning or the mindset change and behavior change, then we need to help them grow. This is the higher order thinking skills and continuous improvement, and this is obviously sustaining and keep going around that. My Nudge is very specifically designed to be, the easiest way of explaining it is learner-centered microlearning. So rather than like a piece of content, the person has the onus and responsibility for doing all the work. So rather than me tell you what to think or do, you are going to go through it in an experiential way. We follow a process called AURA. Observe, reflect, adapt. So each single mind nudge, which may only be anywhere between 2 minutes and 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let's say, in duration to play out, is designed to allow people to go through the process of the experience, observe, and then reflect on it, because obviously the learning in experiential learning does not happen in the experience, it really happens after the experience. So the adapt and reflect can happen together, but the onus of the responsibility to do everything is with them. You can't change someone else's behavior, you can't change someone else's mind. That's something they have to do. But you can produce the environment that helps that to happen, and that's what mind nudging is about. And then remember the word iterative, that I in EPIC, you iterate that process. So you might have a sprint where you've got one mind nudge a day for 6 days up to 20 days or whatever it may be, depending on what you're trying to do. And you're iterating that change, but only in a few minutes a day. Apart from a bit of context for information, you know, the motive for doing it, you're not actually giving any information. The main thing is about them having an experience and discovering it. So what's the outcome is raising of self-awareness, and then the adaptation happens because I become less ignorant. Now, what does that mean, ignorant? Because ignorant, we've got a bad connotation with ignorant. But it means it's from the Latin to ignore. It's not inside my awareness. So once it is inside my awareness, I can do something with it. So when you think about things like diversity, if we're not aware, we can't even have that decision. So step one is always obviously self-awareness, which is why they say it is. Now, what mind nudging doing is making everybody aware. The mind nudge also anchors the reminder in. So we're really using language to mind nudge the mind to reframe. So I call it reframing. I like the word reframing because if we've got like a I'm no good belief, it doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve anyone around us. It's not constructive. But if I have a belief, we'll say I do believe in myself, and I reframe that I can reframe that as I'm going about my day. One, I can feel better, so it's going to help my well-being. But two, I can slowly build up these frames and then have what's called a constructive frame of mind. Now, who wants to hear a mind nudge? Because we do it in multimedia. So with multimedia, we're dealing with animation, gamification, audio, and written format. So you're getting it in every format, or whatever format is right for the audience. That's the choice of whoever makes the content. A lot of people actually like it written in directions. So I've actually showed you the directions of a mind nudge. Because some people just like to follow that direction. So I can play that in a minute, but before I do, let's go through what I can do mind frame. I mean, there's thousands of them, but the reason we pick what I can do is because it has the most profound change in an organization in 5 minutes. And you say, I can't believe I had that change. I just can't believe it. And yet it's so simple. And because we so much default to we can't do that because. So you're sitting in a meeting at work and you get them, don't you? You get them and they say, I've got a really good idea. And then someone else said, we did that before, it didn't work. Can't do that here. We've got the budget. We've got the time. People don't like, no, that won't work. So the whole concept of what I can do turns into a culture. That's why it's so powerful, where the default to what I can't do, once you've had the mind nudge and it works, and it always works. Am I right? Back me up here. Absolutely phenomenal. Is people in a meeting then find it very hard to say what I can't do because it sounds wrong. They go, what I can't do, and they go, oh no, I didn't, I got, because they've been nudged into what I can do, and the default becomes what I can do. So we're really changing habitual behavior one step at a time, iteratively. So is it magic? No, but you need the right tools and everything to make it happen. So notice your frame of mind when it comes to can do. Observe if you tend to default to what I or we can't do frame whenever you tend to be more, or do you tend to be more of a what I can do person? Even when you notice yourself thinking I or we can't do X, immediately reframe the phrase to what I can do is, and allow yourself the creative ideas to flow and the solutions. If you don't observe yourself saying the frame, listen to other people saying it and follow the same process. So if I don't say it that day, because maybe I'm not like that, I tend to be more constructive or positive, but I can still listen to other people and learn. And I can see the impact of it and follow that impact. And most of all, I can follow the chain reaction of what happens when we constantly say, I can't do this because, we can't do this because. Because when we say we can't do that, we're actually collecting everybody in the room with us. So we're not only being unconstructive for ourselves, we're ensuring you're unconstructive as well, because that stops the creative flow at that point. So it's game over, really. So has anyone ever had that experience where you're in that room and they're going, can't do that? So how did it feel? Just a matter of interest, I'm going to throw a bit out. How does it feel when they do that?
It takes the control out of your hands. When you say I can, you're bringing the control back to the group and yourself. As opposed to can't do what you're throwing the control away from you.
But exactly.
Yeah, and that's where the role of leadership comes in. Because if it's not identified at that point, culture will be and grow based upon the majority of how people think. And that really needs to be confronted, which in leadership terms, sometimes that's a big fear, because that's cultural change, which doesn't happen overnight, right?
But what we notice here is how much of that is saying that what I can't do is constructive. Never constructive. Because when we say what we can't do, we're looking backwards, we're looking historically, because we believe something happened before. So even if you didn't look at it as being negative a second, and looking at it as being purely scientific, what we're doing is thinking, well, I did that before and it didn't work, so we can't do that. So we've now got a belief, because we've embedded that belief in ourselves. So we're now going to share it with the entire meeting, entire world. So that's one reason. But the one thing for sure, you may not find the answer in what I can do as a frame, but you're never ever going to find it in what I can't do. It isn't there. Because what I can do, that ships us forward into our imagination. So that's why you've got the solution. If we've got no possibility, we don't feel good. We're emotionally drained. But when we got possibility, you're like, well, it might happen. For the moment, I'm happy. So well-being very much comes into this, because you don't want to be dealing with 10,000 people in a company who are not very well, because emotionally they're drained. Who wants to deal with that? Like, nobody wants to deal with that. And then they end up leaving the organization. So you lose potentially great talent, because they're not going to sit there being emotionally drained for the next 10 years. It's not going to happen. Anyone who did just go, I've had enough of this, I'm out. I've been paid $100,000 a year there, but I'm still off. And that's just a disaster. It doesn't need to happen. And as you say, that's cultural. And culture isn't that difficult to change once we have the whole wherewithal to change that culture in the environment that we're in. But if we're trying to change culture in a linear way, when we're in an exponential way, it's going to fail. It's going to fail. It might work for 5 minutes, but it's going to fail. Absolutely. And that's why they say a lot of transformation programs, they fail and stuff, but it's because the people need to come on that journey with us. You know, not just the technology. Anyway, just from a view of the system, you can see this, that you're getting from different views, you're getting different formats, as it were. I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to play that because you're going to experience it when you're in there. What you have is down the left, so you've got a sprint, and you see you've got these different mind nudges that are going through it. And this one particular, I can see by the names of it, is a growth mindset. It's developing a growth mindset, this one. But you could be doing any program to do any change. It could be against your values or anything. So the design of the mind nudging has to fit in with the framework, and the content has to fit in with the outcome that you want. So that is no different than learning. But what happens then is the people reflect back in as they're going through the journey. So the real nub of this is reflection, feedback, and then there's a learning tribe. These things all need to be in place to make that speed, scale, sustain. That is multimedia content, live facilitation, which is obviously micro facilitation in reality, AI bias navigation, which you're going to hear, and then the thunking is debating.